Hi everyone, it's Eve Angeline here at etrailer, and today we'll be taking a look at our Saris Bones EX 2-bike trunk-mounted bike rack right here on our 2011 Ford Fusion. So you have your Ford Fusion and you want to take your bikes out. Now, while I usually recommend, if you can, get a hitch-mounted bike rack, what if you don't yet have a hitch on your Ford Fusion or you can't get one? That's where a trunk-mounted bike rack like this comes in handy. And since you have a spoiler, or if you have a spoiler on your sedan, you are going to have a very limited selection of bike racks that can fit around them. So it's really nice to see that the Saris Bones EX2 is compatible. So this is the Saris Bones EX2, but you can also get this as a 3. So that just means you have a different number of cradles. If you're looking for something extra compact and you're not planning on carrying 3 bikes anytime soon, go ahead and get the 2. But if you think that you might have friends or family that also want to go for a ride and you want to carry around 3 bikes, go ahead and get the 3-bike version. Now, we do have a weight capacity of 35 pounds per bike. So if you have your extra heavy bikes or your electric bikes, definitely not going to be a good fit for you. That's when you would definitely need to get a hitch-mounted bike rack. But for most of your regular bikes, this is perfectly fine. Now, if you do have alternate frame bikes, so those are going to be your step-through, your women's, or your children's bikes, you may need to get a frame adapter bar just to make sure that your bike is level on this bike rack. Now, this bike rack fits differently depending on what kind of vehicle you have. So we're going to take a look at some different specs and some different measurements that are unique to your Ford Fusion. The first is going to be the length added to the back of the vehicle. So as you have it in the out position, we're going to measure it from the bumper to this end of the bike rack, and it sits at about 20.5 inches of length. If you get the 3-bike version, it's going to be a little bit longer. So that's just a measurement that you're going to have to keep in mind whenever you're backing into your garage or trying to park into a really tight spot. Now let's also take a look at the way our bike is sitting on this bike rack, or if you have 2 bikes, that will make a difference too. So notice how high it sits up above our trunk. We still get pretty good visibility out of our rear mirror, which is very important, especially since our Fusion right here does not have a backup camera. It's nice to know that we're still pretty safe on the road. Now let's take the bike off so that we can take a closer look at the bike rack itself. Taking a note though at the way our bike is mounted here, note how we have 1, 2, 3 mounting points. So those 2 cradles are for your top tube, and your third down here is your anti-sway cradle. So this holds that down tube and just helps prevent the sway of your bike rack. And it also is the first thing that you have to remove when you want to take off the bike completely. Notice how much more sway we have now that that is disengaged. Let's go ahead and take those other straps off. Just press that lever and pull that strap up and out. Now we can lift our bike up and bring it through the arms. And just like that, we're ready to go. The cradle design is one of my personal favorites when it comes to trunk racks. Notice how we have these little grooves on the inside and how our strap just tightens down. Another really cool thing about this is the adjustability. So depending on your bike's shape or frame size, you can move these arms back and forth. If you're carrying a single bike without a, let's say a women's bike where you have to level it out, you can kind of get a little bit of adjustment on the arms itself, as well as on your anti-sway. These can all move around and pivot to accommodate your bike's uniqueness. Now we can move this into the compact position as well. So we have these knobs at the end of our arms. Just rotate the knob in order to loosen it, just enough so you can move it towards the center. Then you can swing it down and then move it back into its grooves to secure it with the knob. This is how you will also adjust your top and your bottom arms that will be sitting on your trunk. So let's take a look at where we have this mounted on your Ford Fusion. So you have 6 different buckles and your 4 legs. So notice how we have our upper hooks. They go over your spoiler over here into the top channel of the leg and then into the hood of your vehicle. You also have your articulated feet right here on top of your trunk. Now, as you install this bike rack, make sure to wipe everything down with a towel as well as maybe soapy water, just so you do not have any dirt between the bike rack and the vehicle, minimizing these scratches that you would add to your trunk. We have our side hooks run over to the side by our taillights, and down here we have our lower hooks underneath our trunk. We did have to open up our trunk in order to put our top as well as our side hooks in, although these clipped right into place. We also have our lower feet right here on top of our bumper, giving us a nice, secure and stable place. So with this installed, you will not be able to open your trunk, so that's something worth keeping in mind, that if you have anything stored inside, you will have to uninstall the bike rack completely. Also, with this folded down like this, notice how nice and compact it is. Definitely something worth doing when you're not planning on taking your bikes out just yet, but you also don't want to take your bike rack off just yet. This makes it nice and compact, very easy to park with, also to store inside your vehicle if needed. Another thing to note is our license plate right over here. I moved our arms all the way to the side just to give us the most visibility. Still kind of covers it, but it's mainly visible. So my personal thoughts about the Saris EX bike rack is it's definitely worth getting if this is kind of your only option. If you don't have a hitch, you can't have a hitch, and or you don't have a roof rack, but you still want to carry around your bikes, it's really nice to see that this is compatible with your Ford Fusion, especially with your spoiler. I know your options really are limited, but if I were to get a trunk mounted bike rack, since I kind of have to, I would go with either this or the Yakima fullback if I wanted something where I could add on cable locks, or where I did not have to add on cable locks. That's something worth considering with the Saris Bones EX. Whether you get the 2 or the 3 bike version, I do recommend getting your cable lock as well as your trunk lock that goes into the trunk of your Fusion, as well as the Saris wheel straps, just to minimize the sway of your front wheel. But with all those in place, this tightens down to your Ford Fusion and creates a good and stable way to transport your bikes from one point to the other. And that was a look here at your Saris Bones EX trunk mounted bike rack right here on your 2011 Ford Fusion. My name is Eve Angeline, and I hope you enjoyed the journey.